How are you, Wayne?
I'm doing good. How you doing today?
Are you going to play golf today?
Yes, I'm going to play sometime today. Yeah, you know what? It's a great game, and the weather's unbelievable right now. How can you not?
But how tough is golf for somebody who mastered hockey?
Well, listen, I'm not very good, and I don't claim to be good. And, the thing about being an athlete is, you put hours and hours of practice time in at a young age, and then when you become a professional, my goodness, we practiced every day. So, that's how you do get better. And in golf, I don't really have the wherewithal to want to go out and become too handicapped. I enjoy playing, and when there's some good people around that know the game, I'll take some tips here and there. But I'm not one of those guys who wants to stand on the range. I could care less about that. I just want to go out there and play the game. That's what I enjoy.
Best foursome you've ever been in?
Oh, I don't know. I've been lucky over the years. I would say, years ago when I first retired, I had a guy named Michael Barnett who I'd been with for years and years as a manager, and we flew to Bay Hill, and Michael and I played with Mark McCormick at the time, who created and owned IMG, and Arnold Palmer. That was a pretty fun foursome. That was a pretty good day.
You played with Jordan before?
Many times. He's too good for me, but he's fun to play with.
How much money?
I don't play the money that he made me play because I know I can't win. I might as well just give it away to the caddy. He's too good. That wouldn't be a fair fight. It'd be like one-on-one in basketball. I'd have no chance.
But you're competitive, or at least competitive as an athlete. He's competitive, far more competitive off the basketball. Like, he can't separate those two. He's the
and
same
that's
guy.
fine. That's who he is. That's his makeup. I played a lot with Ahmad. Ahmad's a lot of fun to play with, and actually, Ahmad and I have been partners at Michael's tournament a few times. But you know what? Everybody's different, and he's very competitive. That's why he was the greatest athlete probably of all time, is how competitive he was.
All right, a couple of hockey stories. I know when we got a hold of you, the Blackhawks were still on their incredible run. I want to know bigger picture here, because I said regular season, that's one thing, but some teams are built for the regular season, not the postseason. Who do you think is the favorite right now, if you said you were looking at the best team in hockey?
Oh, that's hard to say, but listen, I agree with you. Somebody asked me the other day how many times the Edmonton Oilers finished first overall, which is the President's Cup, and I couldn't even answer the question properly. I don't know. You only remember winning Stanley Cups. You only remember winning championships. And listen, they're a great team. I like their size, and I like their speed. I like their best players. They got a great captain in Jonathan Taves. I always said, though, don't count out the champions. Past champions know how to win. They're have an understanding that some teams don't have, what it takes to be a champion. And the LA Kings are a very good team, and I think that they're a team that can play in every city. They're one of those teams, as they proved last year. It doesn't matter if they're home or road. They're going to play the same way. They're a very good team. In the East, I really, really like Pittsburgh. I think Crosby's the best player in the game, and when you have the best player in the game, gives you somewhat of an advantage. And the team they're playing tonight, the Boston Bruins, I love their hockey club. They're a very good team, very well coached, and I love the size of their team. And when you get in the playoffs, the size becomes a factor because every game is a grind mentally and physically. So, you know what, that's a great thing about the National Hockey League. There's 9 or 10 teams in each conference that can make the playoffs, that can have a chance of winning the Stanley Cup. But until somebody beats L.A., I still think L.A. is the best team in the National Hockey League.
We talk about, what if you played today? How would you do? And you've been very honest at your peak, with the rules, and, things have changed here. What if Sidney Crosby went back to when you were playing in the 80s?
He would like it because he's smart enough to play. I think that he's a special player. He's the best player in the game today. And, the thing about, I always say about great athletes, everybody knows they're God-gifted. Everyone knows they have talent. It's the work ethic that sometimes gets overlooked by the average person. And as good as Crosby is, he's probably the hardest working guy every game. Consequently, he would have played in any era and played very well. Hey, listen, these guys are way better today than we were. They're bigger and they're stronger and faster. and he would have played extremely well in our era.
Yeah, somehow I
It
think
would have been a pretty good line with him, Yager, and Lemieux.
yeah, that yeah, they might have been better than the Oilers.
It might have worked.
We're talking to Wayne Gretzky, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. All right, a couple of stories that you told me when we were on the plane flying from Los Angeles to New York. We just had Barkley on, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm having Wayne on," and he said, "Make sure you say hello." And I said, "I want him to tell the story when he went to your house." Then Barkley proceeded to start to tell the story. So if you're comfortable with that, the Barkley story when you went to his house in Arizona.
Yeah, it was really interesting. We went over. I took my son, and Charles only lived 5 minutes from me. And the thing about Charles is, as people probably realize, not only is he a wonderful person, but he loves hockey. He follows hockey, and he really enjoys the players that he knows in the game of hockey, and he loves to talk about it. But we went to dinner at his house, and we were sitting having dinner, and before I knew it, his wife had said, "Hey, great one, will you pass me the salt?" So, nobody ever calls me that, the people I know, and natural instinct was I went to grab the salt, and this big hand got there before I did, and he said, "In this house, I'm called the Great One." And I was known at that house as the pretty good one. But that's Charles. He's a wonderful man.
And growing up in Canada, you said you didn't get to see basketball much. I know Time Magazine did a story on you and Larry Bird on the cover. And the first time you were going to get the opportunity to see Larry Bird in the Boston Garden in person, what happened?
Well, it's a real interesting scenario because I never really followed basketball. The only thing I really knew in the 70s about basketball was the old Buffalo Braves with Bob McAdoo, and I think Jack Ramsey was the coach, and Ernie DiGregorio was the phenom for the Buffalo Braves before they packed up and moved to San Diego. But I was fortunate enough to be on the cover of Time Magazine with Larry, and so we happened to be playing in Boston, I guess, on a Wednesday night, and got there on a Tuesday, and the Celtics were playing that night, so my roommate was Kevin Lowe, and my teammate, obviously, Kevin Lowe, and we decided to go to a Celtics game. And as we got to the Celtics game and we're walking to our seats and we sat down with her, ready to watch the game, and all of a sudden Larry Bird came walking by us into the locker room, and I said, "Well, what happened?" They said, "Larry Bird just got his second technical. He's out of the game." So that was my opportunity to see Larry Bird play, and it never happened.
You didn't get to see him. He didn't play at all by the time you got there?
I think he got 2 or 3 minutes into the game, and he took a technical, and then he argued with the referee and got a second technical, and I guess the rules are if you get 2 technicals, you're out of the game. So I was so excited to go sit down and watch this guy play, and next thing I know, he was walking to the locker room, and my chance of seeing Larry Bird dwindled pretty quickly.
Did you talk to him?
No, not at that time, but years later we talked about it, but it was kind of funny. He said, "If I would have known you were there, I wouldn't have got 2 technicals."
One other thing that you brought up that I wanted to get to before I let you go, and that is you talked about the sticks that they're using now in the NHL. How different are they as compared to what you guys used back in the 80s?
Yeah, I think they're completely different. If there's one thing that I don't like about the game today that I liked about our game was the wooden sticks. Now, obviously, we can't shoot the puck or couldn't shoot the puck as hard as these guys can with the shafts and the sticks that they use today. I just don't feel like they have the same feel with the blade and the puck that we had when we back in the 70s. And, from some extent, it's maybe the same as tennis, or a guy like John McEnroe might say, the wooden racket and the way they were strung, probably the players had a little bit more of a finesse game and a little bit more feel with the rackets than the rackets they use today. But I know it's not going to happen because of, the wood scenario that we have in life or around the world. But if there was one thing I would change, I think these guys would be better players. They wouldn't maybe shoot the puck as hard, but I think they'd be better playmakers with the wooden sticks. I'd hate to see Crosby with a wooden stick. I don't think anybody would get the puck from him.
Really? Because you said that the puck bounces off these sticks, that there's no real flexibility.
Well, yeah, I don't feel like they have the same give and the same sort of feel that our sticks had.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what these players are used to. It's like the visors. These guys all grow up wearing face masks and helmets and visors, and why some of these guys turn pro and take their visors off, I'll never know.
Should that be mandatory to have a visor?
No, I don't think it should be mandatory because there's guys who are in the league that really have never worn one. But my goodness, it wouldn't be a hard rule to put in place that if you come out of junior hockey or college hockey and you've played with a visor your whole life, that you should have to keep it on. So maybe they should look at grandfathering the rule. And you know, it's like my son is 22 years old. He still likes to play pickup hockey, and I wouldn't let him go on the ice without a visor on. I mean, my goodness, why? You play your whole life with it. I can understand back in the 70s and late 60s, I guess, when people who had never worn a helmet in their whole career, and people say, well, you got to wear a helmet, and there was this fight. Well, no, I've never worn it. I'm comfortable without it. And so that's the way it sort of should be with the visor, in my view. Why these kids take them off doesn't make sense to me.
Good to visit with you as always. Thanks for the stories. Tell Jen and I said hello, and I'll see you on another plane
All right,
ride.
you guys take care, and I'll see you down the road.
All right, thanks, Wayne.
Bye-bye.
That's Wayne Gretzky, the great one.